Auburn is not a place, it is a people. The loveliest village on the plains is more than a college sports venue, more than a university filled with historic buildings, more than a quaint little southern town. Its worth lies within its people, those that call Auburn home, whether that be for a single day at a time or for a lifetime. Much like our legendary Toomer's oak trees, our stories are the product of a firm foundation laid in the beginning of our Auburn story. These are the stories of the Auburn family. These are their roots.
War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to Auburn Roots. This is our journey of sharing and exploring the stories of your Auburn family members. On episode 25, I like to do things special on the 5 numbers. Back on episode 5, we talked to Miss Sherry Wood, the daughter of Coach Sonny Smith. On episode 15, we talked to Coach Sonny Smith, the former head men's basketball coach, and our first coach that we interviewed here on this podcast network. And I'm pleased to tell you that on episode 25, we have our first Auburn athlete, former Auburn athlete, to sit down with us and be gracious enough to share their Auburn roots. He's a guy that many of you will be familiar with if you grew up in the era that I did, and was part of the foundation that was laid in forming what would then become the 2004 undefeated season, even though he wasn't technically part of it, but he did have a significant part in laying that foundation so that success was being maintained. He was a favorite target of Jason Campbell, and he's one of my favorite wide receivers in all of Auburn history, Mr. Jeris McIntyre. Jeris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. How are you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. You know, it's always a good day when I can talk to my favorite former Auburn football players, because this is the era, your era was the time when I really got invested in what it meant to be an Auburn family member and an Auburn football fan. So I got to admit, there are a few times that you made me jump up in my couch, off of my couch, with some of the catches that you were making from Jason Campbell. So I would imagine that was a pretty fun time for you.
Yeah, definitely, man. I always look back at those days, and just reminisce on the good times, on being able to make plays, on playing at Auburn with so many great players. And those, I cherish, we cherish those moments every day, still to this day. So those were some fun times. We have a brotherhood and still talk to a lot of those guys to this day. So I really love my time at Auburn.
It seemed like you really have invested, even after your career at Auburn and your career playing sports, in what it means to be an Auburn family member. So maybe just like this would be a great question to open up with before we get further into your personal story. But in general, what is it about Auburn? What is it that makes you want to be a part of it, be a part of the family, quote unquote?
I think really it's just it being a family like yourself, myself, or any other random Auburn fan. Once you see that orange and blue, or once you hear War Eagle, it's like you become a family member. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people preach it, and it's a family atmosphere and a family environment. But if you've ever been on the plains for any kind of game, especially football, you just get that feeling. So it's really hard to kind of explain. For myself, I grew up an Auburn, Tiger fan. My dad played there. My mom went there, and had aunts and family members up in that area. So I was always Auburn, but the people that didn't grow up Auburn and came to Auburn kind of understood quickly what it's like to be in that family atmosphere, in that family environment, and just bleeding that orange and blue, really.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that the family ties are strong for you, because I was not aware of that. And that's usually one of the things I like to talk about is, was it something that was ingrained in you by your family? It sounds that might have been the case.
Yeah, it was. So my father, a lot of people know, some don't, but he was one of the first African-American football players at Auburn in the 70s. And when he left the school, he was the all-time leading rusher before Bo Jackson and, a lot of the other Auburn greats came through. He was the all-time leading rusher. So when I was born and growing up and through the 80s and 90s, it was all Auburn, even though I'm from Tampa, Florida, and grew up in Tampa, Florida. It was always War Eagle. It was always Auburn. I would be going to games, like I said, in the 80s and the 90s, and just grew up watching Auburn. So the family ties are definitely there. My dad met my mom at Auburn. My mom's sisters went there, through the Bo Jackson days and a little bit after. So for me, it was War Eagle from the time I was born. So it was I really had no choice, but I'm glad I didn't have a choice. So
it's the first non-choice that you're glad you didn't have.
Yes,
I gotta be honest, I'm a little jealous of the amount of family ties that you have to Auburn. Here I am sitting here thinking, oh, I'm the typical Auburn fan. I've got my dad was the big fan, all this kind of stuff. But you've got sisters, you've got, your dad was a leading rusher. This is a great little family history you've got with the Auburn family.
Yeah. It's a lot, man. My dad graduated from there. My mom graduated. Myself, I graduated. My twin sisters graduated from there. My mom's, I think, two sisters graduated from there. I had about 3 first cousins that were there at the time I was there that ended up graduating around that time, around that era as well, or 3 or 4, maybe even 5. I can't even remember. So on both sides, my mom and dad's side of the family, we're definitely deep in the Auburn roots.
It might be time to find one of those buildings to rename to the McIntyre name at this point.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Enough was invested in to have a building, I guess, per se. But it was it's kind of ironic and a great accomplishment and things of that nature. So I'm just kind of proud at this point when you look back at it. And everybody can say, hey, we went to Auburn, we graduated, beat up on Alabama during that time. I mean, what more can you add? What more can you ask for?
It's a pretty well-rounded experience.
Yeah. Great education, winning some games, beating up on Alabama a little bit here and there. And what else? Like I said, what else could you ask for?
I don't know how much it gets better than that, man. But let's talk a little bit about you outside of Auburn, get to know you a little bit. So if you mentioned it already with some of the family ties, it was pretty much a non-choice for you, but you're thankful for that. You said you grew up in Tampa. So tell me a little bit about that outside of Auburn, growing up in Tampa or anything else from your childhood. If I sat you down on a couch and say, give me your childhood or your adolescence in a nutshell before Auburn, what would that be like?
Man, that's a good question. Sunny Tampa, Florida, man, beaches, jet skis, my sister's mom, dad here, a lot of friends, attended Tampa Catholic High School where I'm now the head coach. So I was able to go get a great education there and just kind of living the Florida life. I guess springtime year round, which was always great growing up, being able to go to the beaches and in the lakes and be with family members. And occasionally I had some summers up in Roanoke, Alabama, where my grandmother's from, and Montgomery, Alabama, where my dad's parents live. So like I said, Tampa, Florida, man, just the Sunshine State. Was always out here on the grind, played baseball as well. So was able to kind of play sports year round and just, love my family and live our best life now here in the Sunshine State, really.
See, I think that's something that people aren't aware about you. Obviously, we know you for your time with the football program and what you've done with that at Auburn and beyond that, but you were a baseball guy as well growing up. Was there ever a chance that you thought, hey, I might do this at the next level? Yeah,
it was really close, man. As my senior year approached, I was still kind of figuring out which one I wanted to do. A lot of people said I was even better at baseball. I love football. And as I told you earlier, it was always a dream to play for Auburn and to play professional football. So I really think that kind of took over everything when in reality, I maybe could have went the baseball route or maybe tried to do both, which I know would be kind of grueling at the college level. So looking back at it, I fulfilled a dream of playing at Auburn football and get drafted to the National Football League. But I still had that love for baseball, and I think I was pretty good at that.
There's been few players that have been able to make that bridge that gap from doing football and baseball. Bo Jackson's obviously the big name there. Frank Thomas for a time as well. Right now, John Samuel Schinker, if I can say his name correctly, it's a tough one to say.
Oh, so he is playing baseball now too?
That is my understanding. And I believe when I was listening to the radio broadcast, I heard his name called. I was like, there he is doing it. So I appreciate the fact of how much you have to do just to be a football player or any sport, but to do a dual sport, that's an incredible task to do. But what position would you have played in baseball?
I was an outfielder, center fielder, left fielder. Played a little bit of right, but I was mainly center field, left fielder, kind of leadoff batter type, a little bit of power, but was, on base, stealing bases, and, on base percentage was pretty high. Just was always my thing, just getting on base and trying to get runs. So
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen you out in that outfield there, out next to the Green Monster.
Yeah, definitely. I look back at it, and I still go to our games now at Tampa Catholic and watch those kids a little bit here and there. But yeah, it was some fun times. I just felt like the sport of football was more active, and I don't know if I had ADD. I don't know if I could choose it, but I don't know. I was a little more moving around, couldn't be in one spot for a long time kind of kid. And I just always felt like football, I was always moving. It was always active. And I was like, whereas baseball's a little slower. And I just kind of not lost interest, but just wanted more action. And I felt like the football route was a lot more action than baseball.
Yeah, they're both very complicated games, and it takes a special type of player to be able to do one of those things, but to do both of those things can be challenging because they're just very different in the cerebral aspect of the game. There's a lot more action, like you said, in football, where you've got to be on it. And baseball's a lot of mental patience. Exactly.
Yeah, because even at the plate, like you want to be patient, but I was the type that I wasn't. I just would want to hit the ball. I wasn't gonna sit there and let the count get to 3-2 or 3-0. I'm gonna probably have swung at a ball, before I sit up there for 5 minutes at plate. So, but it was fun and I was good at it. And maybe I could have played it or maybe should have played it. But at the end of the day, I never look back and say could have, would have, should have, because I was able to play for Auburn and make it to the NFL. So.
Absolutely. Well, before we move on to maybe how you got to Auburn, and we kind of know a little bit about that with your family ties, what about the Tampa area? What about being like an Auburn fan in that area? Were there a lot of Auburn fans? Is that something that was kind of scarce being down there?
Well, this is Gator Nation, I'll say. You got the Seminoles around here and there, but it seems like it's Gator Nation with Gainesville being an hour and a half. But now in Tampa, we have a big Tampa club, and we've had that before. So there are some Auburn fans, and there are some kids that do go to Auburn from the Tampa Bay area, just regular college, students, non-athletes. So there is a base in Tampa, but this is more so, I would say, Gator Nation around these parts. But there are some Auburn Tigers. You'll see some Auburn tags. We're always honking War Eagle when you see an Auburn tag. And that's why I said it comes back to what you're saying with the family. Like, even down here, if you see an Auburn tag or they see your plate, or license plate, whatever it may be, they're going to honk or let the window down, War Eagle, whatever it may be. So I feel like that's just nationwide. If you're when I was up in Kansas City, I would see that. Of course, in Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever I'm traveling, if you see Auburn plates and tags and you guys kind of see each other, it's always a War Eagle or fist pump or whatever it may be,
Well, I want to ask this next question, but I want to also be diplomatic because I know you're a high school coach now, and I know you got to maintain relationships with colleges and stuff like that. But which university in the state did you have most fun with as an Auburn fan? Was it Florida State, or
Florida State?
Florida State. Okay.
See, for me, I'm gonna be honest. Like coming out, I had a couple of my teammates. One of my teammates went to Miami. One of them went to Florida. So I kind of, before I got to Auburn, kept up with Florida a lot. I would say they're my second SEC team. And then Miami was loaded. It was the U. And I respected Florida State, but I feel like the Florida State fans jaw a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they might jaw, they're not Bama or the Georgia fans, but they jaw a lot.
Yeah.
So I just think for whatever reason, anytime I'm in some kind of back and forth with a fan in Florida, it's probably a FSU fan, I think maybe because in 2013 they beat us, and that's the last time we played. Mm-hmm. Whereas Florida, we beat Tebow a couple times, and they kind of have the respect back and forth because they beat us, we beat them. In Miami, we really haven't played, so they don't really jaw because they know SEC is the best conference. But when it comes to Florida State, I don't know, it's something different. So I would say FSU. UCF a little bit after they beat us too, national champs and all that crap. Like, I had a little bit of that. But they weren't that bad. The FSU, I would say FSU are the worst.
I was about to say, I was wondering if UCF was going to come into the equation at any point in this, because they've become a little bit more relevant with recent events too.
Yeah.
Some feelings there all the way around. But that's cool. I think we got a good perspective of you, growing up and stuff like that. And, as we talked about, you said there was not much of an option outside of Auburn. And before you make the decision to go there, was there ever any other school that had a chance, or if there was another school that you considered?
Yeah, I was close to going to Miami, actually. Speaking of, because I had at Tampa Catholic, we had a couple guys the years prior signed with Miami, and they were recruiting me pretty hard. And that's Tuberville was just coming in as Bowden was leaving. So I had a relationship with Miami, a better relationship, and they were recruiting me pretty hard. And I was supposed to go into Miami. So Miami and Florida were the other two, I would say. But once Tuberville got in and got his staff and they started recruiting me, the new staff started recruiting me, I was still locked in and all in with Auburn.
Tell me a little bit about Coach Tuberville, because, I've met him a few times and, I have some fond memories because he's the coach that was there when I was really solidifying myself as an Auburn fan. But tell me a little about him and what it was like being coached by him.
He recruited me. He gave me an opportunity. We won a lot of games. So I can't really say we beat up on Bama, like I said early in the podcast. We won the West, and, I was a captain. He honored me to be a captain my senior year. And like I said, gave me opportunity to play for Auburn and help me fulfill a dream. He engaged with his players somewhat. As a coach. So, nothing really bad to say about him. Like I said, he won a lot of ball games, went undefeated that, like you said, in 2004, and we won the West in 2000 and went on the road, a streak of beating Alabama pretty good for some years. So, he was successful at Auburn, definitely. And he gave me an opportunity to play for the Auburn Tigers.
So being a student athlete, you come to Auburn, you've got the family ties here. Help us understand, for those of us that aren't student athletes, what that balance is like for you. Day one, you get on campus, like help us kind of see that through your eyes a little bit.
It was tough. I mean, it's a little different than high school, having a full day of classes and then going to practice, college classes at least, or workouts in the morning. So it was definitely a grind. I feel like as time went on, I got used to it. But initially, it is different than high school, and it takes you some time to kind of get adjusted, being on your own schedule, having to wake up, get up yourself, walk across the street to the buildings or to the your classrooms, and no one really holding your hand to do it, and being basically becoming an adult is definitely it was definitely challenging for I'll say that first semester of school.
I think that's something that we need to hear is, just the general fan base, because obviously we see what you guys do on the field and what you go through somewhat during the week, because we get the little images in the media and stuff like that, but we don't know what the grind is like for you guys and what you have to put up with and what you don't get to do and participate in. Did you have any opportunity to spend time on campus doing anything else besides sports or get involved in anything?
It's funny, not really at all. Some guys pledged in fraternities or whatnot, but not for the most part. My mindset was school workouts, and then maybe on the weekends hanging out with friends and doing stuff here and there, going out here a little bit or whatnot. But as far as just that everyday grind, man, it was the workouts were so hard. And then going to class, man, I was just focused on making it through the workouts, or things of that nature. So. Nothing really. None. I can't say I did really think anything outside of football workouts, football practice, and then hanging out on the weekends with the fellas.
Mm-hmm. Now you were the strength and conditioning coach at the time was Coach Kevin Yoxel, right?
Yes, sir.
I've heard that's pretty tough grind to go through with him. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, to this day, he has a story where I was so dang tired, and I was going down to tie my shoe, acting like I'm tying my shoe, but I was just trying to bend over. So to this day, anytime he sees me or has a comment, he's like, "Hey, man, you still tying those shoes?" So, man, those things were grueling, man. We work hard, and we saw him more than any of the other coaches, so he was more like that father figure away from home for all of us. And we all have so much respect and love for him. And he really helped that program and built it back to where it was supposed to be, and I have much respect for him. But his workouts were definitely hard. That running was hard, but it made us the best. It made us the best, and it was best for us. Yep.
You don't see fans getting too excited about when there's a new strength and conditioning coach hire, and I don't think people understand how important of a hire that is. Not just from obviously strength and conditioning, but as you just said, the relationship aspect. You saw him probably more than any other coaches, spent more time with him. So I think that's something that fans could probably hear this and take away and say, hey, the next time that, you're hearing something about the new strength and conditioning coach, be appreciative of that. And that's a very important hire for the head coach that's coming in, especially for new coach Brian Harsin.
Yeah, it definitely is. No, it definitely is. It's a very, very important hire. Like I say, your coach Jocks basically instilled everything that we put out there on Saturdays. He instilled it in us, the first day we got there and all the way on. So that to me, that's almost as important of a hire as the dang head coach, in my opinion. So
a case can be definitely made for that in some degree.
Yeah.
Now, while you're at Auburn, what degree were you studying for, and what did you finish with?
I graduated in education. Yes, I got my degree in education.
What were the classes like there at Auburn, or any funny stories from that or anything like that?
Not really. They weren't easy. I went to a Catholic school, so we were college prep. So they weren't too difficult, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my time, and it was a little different going to class and stepping in the classroom, not knowing anybody, and classes, walking a mile away, or another class another mile away. But I can't really say any interesting stories. I mean, I really enjoyed my time at Auburn, and got to meet a lot of good people. Got a lot of good classmates, and it was a good, funny, interesting time.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the football time there, because we need to spend just a little bit on that. If you had to pinpoint a couple games that come to mind during your tenure there, what would you say stick out to you?
First one is Florida in 2001, when we won on a field goal at the end with Damon Duval. We were heavy underdogs, had a lot of guys hurt. That was probably my most memorable, being from Florida. Like I've said before, I had a pretty big catch to set up that field goal on that last drive. But Florida 2001, Iron Bowl 2003, when the Go Crazy Cadillac game, that first play of that game, whole bunch of controversy with them, I guess, on the plane trying to get Tuberville out of there, and I think we all knew that ahead of the game, and you just came out to be able to score in the first play of the game, offensive play of the game, 80 yards, with Cadillac, great blocking from the offensive line. I had a pretty decent block, and then ran down the sideline. So I would say that game. Also, Vanderbilt 2003, I scored twice. We were, I guess, preseason number 1 and didn't score against, I guess, USC or Georgia Tech week 1 or 2. So I actually scored the first touchdown of the season against Vanderbilt. So I think that was a very memorable moment for myself in that season to get us rolling, to build momentum for that 2004 season. Really, I would say those three, and probably the Wyoming game, which because it was my first game in 2000, just being able to run out of that tunnel like I dreamed about, and seeing those 85, 90,000 people screaming, Thursday night game on ESPN. I would have to say, if I had to say, man, those games were, I had, big time memories just because we won all of them. And, each one had a special moment to me. And I think I would also say the Wisconsin game in that 2003 season, going into the 2004 season, to build the momentum. It was a hard fought game against a good Wisconsin team. And I had a couple big catches that game to end my career. So, those 3 or 4 games I would have to say are my moments that I kind of cherished at being at Auburn, along with a whole bunch of others. 9/11 happened, and we ended up flying to Syracuse as a team, and got to go out to USC, play Southern Cal, all the way across the country. So just being some things like that, coming to Orlando for the couple bowl games were pretty fun. Just being back in Florida playing. So I can't really say just one, but some of those things were what I wanted to kind of pinpoint it, the highlight of my career.
Let me ask the opposite side of that. Any of the bad ones stick out to you?
Yeah, the first one's Ole Miss 2003. We were basically driving to win the game, and Ben Obamano, I don't know if you remember that game where he had that big drop. That was man, bad. I still think about that to this day. That was definitely one of, just because he had a hell of a game. My great friend, he really, really smart dude. It just sucked that happened at that point for him.
Right.
And then I feel as in the next play, they threw one up. There's a couple guys around, but I still be like, I could have pushed somebody off and tried to make a play to save the day or whatever. But that one definitely is one. Another game, I think 2002, the year after we beat Florida, we went back down there and lost, I think, by a field goal. They blocked a field goal or something like that down in the swamp. But I would say those two games, just because we're so close to winning, and it could have built momentum for the season and whatever it may be. But I think those two games kind of suck when it comes to just thinking back. But they were good for hard-fought ball games.
Yeah.
And just like we won a lot of the close ones, we lost a couple close ones. Georgia, 2002 maybe. They threw one up to the dude Michael Johnson at the end on the Hail Mary. That might have been, that might have been 2002. That was a tough one. We had that game in the bag too. So those three, and those are the real close games that you'd be like, as an SEC player, could go either way, and it doesn't go your way that day. You'll always remember, you know.
So you're bringing up memories now. We just had this high. You were going through all these games that I remember watching you in, and then we're going to talk about these bad ones. And I made the mistake asking the question because I was there in the Ole Miss 2003 game. I was in the end zone where Wimanu dropped the ball, and there's no Auburn players out there that I have a problem with or have never not liked, but you couldn't have picked a worse guy for that to happen to, because he's like, he's such a nice dude, and like, wow,
such a nice dude. Like, he's the only dude. I told him this too. He's the only dude that can go to Alabama for grad school and nobody get mad, right? Because I guess he went and did some doctorate or whatever he did, law school at Alabama. I was like, but I guess Auburn didn't have it or what. I said, damn, you couldn't go to Georgia Tech or Georgia or anywhere you had to go to, but no one's mad because he's just that good of a dude. Like, so it sucked, man, because he had a great game. I remember him catching the screen, getting it all the way down to like 20. I caught a couple out routes to get us down to about the 5. I remember like yesterday, but like I was just telling him, don't worry about it. You made so many plays, we wouldn't have been in that position that day. But that would probably be the worst. Yeah. And even though just because it wasn't me, but it was just like I felt so bad for him at that time. But I would say those were the moments that you always remember too. Yeah. And that's part of being a football player or a coach or anything else in competitive sports, that you're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
The lows make the highs even that much better. And a big high came after the fact that you graduated. But as I said in the intro, you and your teammates that had left after the 2003 season laid the foundation for what was going to happen going forward. And that season before, you guys were picked number 1 by a lot of publications. I remember that very well. Did you guys really help me understand from a athlete's perspective here? When you were hearing that hype, did you guys really feel like you were the best team in the nation that year?
Yeah, I think so, because we had a lot of veterans and then we had a lot of young talent. I mean, you got to think, that whole team in the 03 season basically got drafted or a chance in the NFL. So, we had Jason Campbell, Cadillac, Ronnie, Brandon Jacobs. And then we had, myself, Ben, Obamanu, Devin Aromashadu, Anthony Miggs, Courtney Taylor, Marcus McNeil on the O-line. We were loaded on defense, Carlos Dansby, Dontarius Thomas, Carlos Rogers, Rose Green. So we were loaded. So just looking at it and what we had, and I always look back at it, absolutely. I think we felt we were the best. I think that was the year before, right when we're coming off of beating Penn State in the Capital One Bowl or whatever they call it. Yeah, it was Capital One Bowl, not Orlando. So we beat them up, and most of that team came back. And the publishers were right from the sense of what they saw at the end of 2002 and what we had. I just think we never meshed offensively, just as a whole. Had a new coordinator. Defense was playing pretty well. And I just think it took us a little bit of time to kind of get in our groove. But by then we had lost a couple games. So it was kind of like that number 1 or national title talk was kind of dwindling away. But I think towards mid-year, we showed that team that everybody thought we were going to be. It just took a little bit more time.
So you see the team after you go undefeated, arguably were the national champions and never got to play for it. Do you take a little bit of, pride in knowing that you, in essence, helped create and made that a reality?
Yeah, I do. And the reason why is because I think what we went through in 03 helped build what it was in 04, because it was the same expectations, or maybe the expectations weren't as high, but it helped, the stat seeing class to be like, hey, regardless of what we're ranked, we got to do it and put it on the field. On top of making sure offensively we're together. Do we have the right coordinator? Do we have everybody in the right pieces from week one? So, and I think that, came with coaching and players when it came down to the 04 season. Whatever mistakes that we made in 03, let's correct them. So in 04, we can go and hit the ground running. So I do think 03 and that group of guys helped build what happened in 04.
Well, I hope you guys, you personally, but the rest of your teammates from that 2003 team that never got to see the 2004 know how much we do appreciate the foundation that you laid in making what 2004 was the reality. And let me ask this, and let's close out our talk about like just Auburn football stuff in general. You think that 2004 team would have beat 2010?
That's a good question. 04, 010. I think 10, man, I don't know. Because Cam Newton, man, he to me, what he did is the best college football season ever. Mm-hmm. And then they still had Nick Fairley that would always come up with a play. 04, though, I mean, man, they had that defense. I can't say. Only reason I would say 04 is because those are my friends from 04.
Of course.
But the fact that Cam Newton was playing for Auburn, man, I don't know. Because that dude was ridiculous. I mean, they were scoring 60 at times.
Right.
And regardless, I know we had that defense, but man, the way they were scoring, I don't know.
I'm so proud of both of those teams. And, I hold them both in high regard, but I got to tell you, that 2004 team holds a special place in my heart. And I can feel like I could make a pretty strong case that they would have won in a head-to-head matchup.
And the only reason I say, and I would say the determining factor would be defensively.
Exactly.
We're so dominant. And offensively, the game was different, but we still were pretty dominant because we had, 3 first-rounders in the backfield with great receivers. So, I mean, we were going to score too.
Yeah.
In 04. So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing some perspectives about being an Auburn football athlete. So let's talk just a little bit about your time after that. You go into the 2004 draft. You get taken in the 6th round to the Kansas City Chiefs. What's that experience like? Not many of us get to go through the NFL draft. What was that like?
It was fun, man. It was good. I'm glad I got drafted. At times it was stressful waiting to hear your name called, but once it was called, it was great. I got drafted by Dick Vermeil, legendary coach, and my time was fun. I really, really enjoyed being able to experience the National Football League. So anybody that can make it, shoot for it, try hard, but it may not last long. So you better have something, that you want to do afterwards. So all these young athletes, you better know, because even if you're there for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, at the end of the day, you're going to have to fall back on something. So have that education and have your mind, ready for something else once it's all done. But like I said, the time there was great. The draft process was fun up until draft day when you're waiting and you're not knowing. But once it's called, it's amazing. Amazing feeling.
I'm a big fan of Coach Dick Vermeil. So when I saw one of my favorite players going to one of my favorite NFL coaches, that was a big day for me. I'm not going to lie. When I played the NFL video games, I put you on my team every time and ran around with you a lot. So that was always fun to have you on my little virtual teams all the time. Definitely. Any big moments in the NFL? I know your time wasn't super long there, but that you had?
No, I would say, maybe scoring against the St. Louis Rams, getting up and Gronk spiking it before Gronk spiked it. I don't even know. He probably was a little kid at that time in 05. But yeah, I would say that probably my touchdown on a go route against the St. Louis Rams, Coach Vermeil's old team, was probably like the moment I could say, yeah, I'm here, I made it type deal. But I would say that one was definitely it.
Now, I got to ask you about playing in NFL Europe, because I forgot this was a thing. What's that like? Is that different from the NFL, or is it just football?
It's for the football, as far as the rules are the same. It's really fun, actually. I mean, they blow whistles in the crowd. It's kind of strange. Like, instead of, clapping their hands, they'll blow whistles. You don't know if it's the official or the fans, but man, it was really fun. It was a 10-week deal. Once I got allocated by Kansas City, go over there in the offseason for 10 weeks. and play 10 games and a little playoff and I guess the World Bowl, but it is really, really fun. I wish they still had it for the guys who, were on the fringe or wanted to get reps. Because what happened with me, my rookie year, I got hurt. Mm-hmm. So a lot of time I was out for a lot of time. So they kind of wanted to get me back into, get back going. And that's why they sent me over to Europe. And I wasn't happy about it. But once I got there, I was like really, really happy that I was here. It was fun. The weather was good. We ate good. I mean, just seeing all the different places in Europe, it was really, really a great experience. And the football was fun, man. It was competitive as well.
Now, you played for the Rhein. Is that how it said? Rhein Fire?
Rhein Fire.
Rhein Fire,
It's
okay.
It's in Dusseldorf, Germany. But then they have like the team in Cologne, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Hamburg. So we were able to go see when we played each team different places. So it was really, really, really a fun experience.
So you have just been all over the place. A kid from Tampa, Auburn legacy, comes to Auburn, gets to travel around the country with that, gets to go to the NFL, then goes overseas and plays. You are well-rounded, my friend. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, man, especially with how the world is now, with things are going on. Like, looking back at it, I was able to experience, other countries, a lot of cities, different places. Like, looking back at it, really, cherish every moment and just feel extra blessed to have been able to be a part of that and be around it,
Did you ever have any War Eagle moments overseas?
It was an Auburn fan. It was some Auburn fans all the way over there.
Yeah.
And they knew I went to Auburn, asked for pictures, War Eagle. Absolutely. When I was in actually Cologne and then Frankfurt, I guess we have a base over there for the military. So a lot of Americans over there, but some of them were from Alabama. And I got to, link up with them, and they were all Auburn. A couple of them remember when I was playing, because it was like, the year before or whatnot. So it was pretty cool, man. All the way across the world.
Yeah, it's interesting what the sport of football will take you to do some different experience and things like that. Sounds like you've had a great time there. Let's talk a little bit about you now. You've already mentioned that you're a Tampa resident. You are a head coach at Tampa Catholic. You went from athlete to coach. Any different perspectives now that you're looking at it from this side?
Yeah, a lot, man. Now you can see why the coaches are how they are, why they're always consistently on you, being on time, attention to detail, just everything as a player where you wonder, why is a coach so particular about, now as a head coach, you see it just because you want to know, just because to have everything ran right, everything needs to be scheduled and being, I guess, fine-tuned in the right spot at all times to help it all go, Yeah,
I would imagine, some time now removed from playing days and being a coach, you've definitely got some different perspectives on that. And, so you're a head coach now, what were you coaching before? Were you a positional coach before head coach?
So I started off coaching youth football as a head coach for like 14-year-old kids, so middle school. And then I ended up taking over as a receiver coach at my high school that I am at now.
Yeah. And
I was there 3 years and then got promoted to the head coach once the previous head coach took a college job.
Awesome.
So,
you ever show any of those wide receivers you have there some of your game tape and say, y'all can't beat this?
Yeah. I show it to them. Yeah. Or I may post something on Instagram here and there and just show them, like, man, all this y'all doing is saying that you can do. I've been there, done that, and probably was better than y'all. So listen, that's the easiest way to put it.
Well, no, I would hope that you do that because you had some great highlights there. I always remember you running down the sideline with Cadillac there. And I think one of the most underappreciated things that a wide receiver these days doesn't pick up on is the ability to block. And I know it depends on the offense and things like that. And if you can throw a mean block as a wide receiver, you will win a lot of respect.
Yes. And we did a lot of that at Auburn. Therefore, we got good at it. So I always kind of tell my receivers and guys, when you don't have the ball, block your butt off. Because, you'll earn some respect.
Absolutely. So now you are a head coach. You've, time removed from the game and as an athlete, and you've come back to Auburn a few times. What's it now like being removed from that sense and kind of just being part of the Auburn family, the general fan base? Do you come to games that often?
Yeah. It's been cool. It's been fun, man. I watch all the Auburn games. I keep up with all the recruiting, coaching changes, guys we're bringing in, transfers we're getting. So not keep up with it just like a normal fan. And it's really at times been fun and exciting, and at times been kind of upset and frustrated. But I think that's part of, honestly, being a college football fan, I would say, in the SEC for the most part. I mean, some places, better than others, but I would say, man, at the end of the day, man, if you compete in the SEC, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And I know Alabama has been on a roll, but I'm just saying for the most part, it's going to be like that. Fan bases are going to be, I guess, passionate one way or another, one way or the other. But yes, sometimes it's been exciting, sometimes it's been frustrating, but I'm Auburn to the core, so I'm rocking with it. How we are, good or bad.
Absolutely, that's the only way to be as an Auburn family member. Well, I think we've gotten a good perspective of your Auburn roots, where you've been, how you got there, and your time since then. What I'd like to do now with you is have a little fun and do a little Auburn questionnaire. It's about 12 questions, this or that. Pick your favorite type of this. Maybe some explanation would be deserved from some of these answers too. We'll see what happens. They're usually pretty fun. Question number 1, orange or blue?
Blue.
Why?
Darker color. I just like the darker color. Sometimes orange, you walk around look like a pumpkin.
It's so funny. I think people are thrown off when I ask the why on that part of that question. They're like, what do you mean why? It's just the one I pick, Nah,
I've always liked darker colors. I like black. I like dark blue. Orange is, kind of bright. And you might walk, like I said, if it's not Halloween, you just walking around with a bright orange shirt, But I say blue.
I like it. Question number 2, Aubie or War Eagle?
War Eagle, because it's just amazing what that eagle can do and drop to the middle of the field at the 50-yard line before kickoff.
Real quick, let me take a quick aside on that. As a player, did you ever get to watch it flying down, or were y'all always in the tunnel?
I didn't see it until at a game setting until I came back, because we're inside.
Right.
But it's amazing. It's amazing. So War Eagle for sure.
All right. Question 3. What's your favorite part of the Auburn fight song? Word, phrase, whatever. I know you got to run it through your head real quick.
Dang. Ever to conquer, never to yield.
That's usually a popular one there. But
ever to conquer, never to yield. Yeah.
It speaks to, the Auburn spirit a little bit, and that kind of, in essence, defines who we are. Question 4. This might be an easy answer here. Let's see. Your favorite Auburn athletics program. What sport?
Let's see. Bruce Pearl had me going, man, a little bit, man. Auburn football for sure.
Of course. I figured.
Softball had me going for a little bit too. But
they do. There's a lot of programs right now that are really starting to kind of take some attention, and I'm not surprised that you said softball had you for a moment. It's hard not to like Bruce Pearl though, right?
Yeah. Auburn football for sure.
All right. Question 5. This will be interesting. Your favorite Auburn athlete?
Cam Newton.
Hands down. It's hard to beat that one.
Growing up, Bo Jackson. I never saw Bo Jackson play in orange and blue except for the highlights. But I got to see Cam Newton play, I guess, 13-0 or 14-0. Every 14 of those games, I watched him, and he was phenomenal. And he put Auburn, we're always Auburn, but, when it was dominated by other schools and teams, and you drop this guy on the campus and he went to national championship, wins every game, it's hard not to say Cam, Bo is right there, but are you talking about from the time at Auburn or just in general?
In general, all time.
Well, then Bo Jackson,
there you
for
go.
Sure.
It's hard to
Bo
pick
Jackson for sure. I thought you meant as an Auburn fan and watching, I was going to say Cam Newton. But as far as just a total athlete, the greatest athlete of all time, Bo Jackson.
There you go. Question 6. Out of all time, your time, any time before that, in the future, I don't know if you can see the future, your favorite Auburn coach, any sport too?
Dang, that's a good question. My favorite Auburn coach. I'll probably say Coach Greg Knox, because he was my receiver coach at Auburn. He's now the Florida's running back coach, but he was probably the reason just how he was on me and how he, just every day, all the time, it was probably the reason I say that is because he helped me be successful.
And see, that's why I love asking you this question, because when I ask this to just the general fan, we typically get, Coach Shugger, and you'll get Gene Chizik, Tommy Tuberville, Gus Malzahn, all that kind of stuff, but Bruce Pearl. But to hear you actually, give a shout out to an assistant coach, that's a great thing.
Yeah, he's there, right? Him and Kevin Yoxel that we spoke about earlier are right there. Just because my time there, without those guys, who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Yox and Knox, definitely.
Yox and Knox, I love it. Question 7, your favorite non-athletics Auburn person. So this can be anybody, a celebrity, a family member, a professor, or just a general fan that you've gotten to know. When I think of Auburn outside of athletics, I think of this person.
Man, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe I'm too much of an Auburn athletics outside of athletics. I don't even know. How about yourself?
For me, it would probably be David Housel, the Auburn historian.
So he was an AD. Yeah.
So that'd be.
He was a great dude. He's a great dude. Man, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, we'll let you think on that. Maybe you'll get back to us someday on that one. There's too many to count, right?
Yeah. I can't even think. Yeah.
All right. Question 8. Your favorite Auburn building? Any of them?
So not Soul Hall. The Haley Center.
Haley Center. Interesting. Is it just because that's where all your classes were?
This Haley Center, yeah. So the classes were, the hangout, the concourse on the yard was all just right by the Haley Center.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I'm just saying building, just in my time, yeah, the Haley Center.
Awesome. Well, a lot of people say to this day that people are still stuck in the Haley Center because it's some type of vortex that people can never find their way out.
How is it? I ain't been there lately. How is it? Is it still there?
I've lost friends to this day. I still can't find them. No, I mean, it's still there. It's still, I think it's one of those buildings that everybody loves to hate on, but if they ever get rid of it, there will be a protest.
No, because I just say because on the first floor, that was a hangout spot.
Yeah.
So everybody had class in the Haley Center.
Yeah.
They walk in. But it's funny that you said that because once you go through there and you start going through the building, it's like however many stories and half the classrooms look like they're empty. But yeah. Now I can see why people would say that. But yeah. I'll say the Haley Center.
Yeah, it was a very common area where a lot of people hung out and, met between classes and stuff like that. It still is to this day. If you don't get lost in there. Question 9, your favorite Auburn place to eat, even if it's not there anymore.
What's the place with those big old hamburgers?
Oh gosh. Is it Cheeseburger? Is that what we're thinking of?
Yeah. I used to go there all the time. And I don't know if we can count Guthrie's. I used to go there all the time.
I'll count it.
Guthrie's by far then. I just don't know if it's there, but Guthrie's by far. I mean, we ate that every other day.
Are we talking the Guthrie's on Opelika Road right there at the corner, or the one at the gas station?
I'm talking about the one. It's like around the little. It's not at the gas station. The other one. It used to be right on Opelika Road, like you're going to go to the mall.
That's it.
Roundabout. Okay, that one.
Yeah. I lived right by that one. I frequented that one myself.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
All right, only 3 questions left. Number 10, your favorite Auburn tradition.
Tiger Walk. The Tumor Corner deal is kind of, it's kind of cool too. But I would say Tiger Walk for sure.
Number 11, your favorite Auburn memory.
Probably scoring that first touchdown against Vanderbilt in 03. Between that and that first play to Iron Bowl 03. But I would say that first touchdown just because it got the monkey off our back and we got on the roll.
It was the weight was lifted, I'm sure, for yourself and your teammates, but for us as fans as well.
Yeah. So I would say that.
All right, last question. Describe Auburn to me in one word other than family.
Dang.
I know I made this one harder for people.
Auburn, one word, but not family. I don't know. Dang, you got me on that one. Just joyful.
We have not had that one yet.
Joyful, because anytime I'm on the plains, it just feels everybody's happy. Yeah. Even sometimes after a loss, it's War Eagle, everybody walking around, and it's like a joyful just environment, place to be.
See, you were worried about giving that answer. You gave a great one. We have not had that one yet.
Joy is joyful. It is joyful, and I tell people that to this day. Black, white, purple, whatever your race is, whatever your beliefs are. It's like when you're on campus, and more so for game days on Saturdays. It's just it's just joyful.
Orange and blue is all that matters at that point.
Yeah.
All right, as we close out, with you sharing your Auburn roots for us, if you had a final message or anything that you wanted to say to your Auburn family, what would it be?
Just War Eagle, and I look forward to us winning a lot of football games in the future. Hopefully, Coach Harsin brings back that toughness, that mean streak of guys ready to go kick some butt. Not that Gus didn't, but It's just be a new day there, and hopefully we have a great fall and finish off these spring sports pretty well. And that's really it, man. Just continue to be that big Auburn family, great, joyful family that we are.
Absolutely. It's a great way to finish out your Auburn Roots, and we are so appreciative of you, Jeris, for spending some time with us to talk a little bit about your time before, while you were there, and after, and we hope that the Auburn family has gotten a chance to get to know you just a little bit better. So thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. War Eagle.
War Eagle.